Hello everyone, in this video we're going to explore the law of cosines. We have the formula a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2 times b times c times cosine of the angle that opposite to a right here, which is angle A, right? Similarly, you have b squared equals this guy and c squared equals this guy. Now, from this formula, we can solve for cosine A by adding 2bc cosine A both sides. So we have 2bc cosine of angle A equals b squared plus c squared. Then you subtract a squared both sides. Now we're going to divide both sides by 2bc, so cosine A equals b squared plus c squared minus a squared divided by 2bc. That's why you get this one right here, right? Now you do exactly the same thing for the second formula and the third formula, right? Now to solve the triangles, you're gonna find all measures of the lengths and angles of the triangle. Now to solve a triangle using the law of cosines, you need to know 3 sides. Or you need 2 sides and their included angle, which is SAS, right? Now we're gonna prove this formula. I'm gonna prove the first formula. The other 2 cases are similar. You're gonna do exactly the same thing, right? Now in the triangle HBA, right? I have cosine of angle A equals adjacent, which is AH, divided by hypotenuse, which is AB, right? Then I have AH equals AB times cosine of angle A, right? But AB actually C, so it could be C cosine angle A, right? Now I know that CA equals B, so I'm going to find CH equals AC subtract AH, right? So it could be B subtract C cosine A, right? Now in the same triangle HBA, I'm gonna find side of angle A. It's gonna be opposite over hypotenuse, which is BH right here, over AB, right? Then BH equals AB times sine A, right? Now AB actually C, so it could be C sine A, right? In the right triangle BCH, we're going to apply the Pythagorean theorem, right? So we have BC squared equals BH squared plus CH squared. So it could be BH squared is going to be this one square, right? So it could be C squared sine square of A, right? Plus CH squared, which is this guy square, right? It's going to be B minus C cosine A all together square, right? Now we're going to use the complete square formula to explain this one, right? Remember we have S minus Y all together square equals S square minus 2 times S times Y plus Y square, right? S in this situation is B, right? Y in this situation is cosine A times C, right? So we have BC squared equals C squared sine square of A plus B squared minus 2BC cosine A plus C squared cosine square of A, right? Now we're going to group this guy and this guy. Then we're going to factor C squared out, right? So we have BC squared equals C squared times sine square of A plus cosine square of A plus B square minus 2BC cosine A, right? Now BC square actually A square, right? Equals C square sine square plus cosine square of angle A equals 1, right? So it could be b squared minus 2bc cosine of angle A. So the first formula has been proved, right? Now to prove this formula using the method 2, x and y coordinate plane, we can put the triangle ABC on the x and y coordinate plane. Now, suppose the vertex A is at the origin, right? Now, the vertex C is on the first quadrant. It's going to be S, Y, right? And the vertex B is going to be right here, right? Now, the silent AB, which is little c, right? Because it's opposite to vertex C right here, right? And point P is on the x-axis, so then it has the coordinate C0, right? Now the distance from C to A, actually B, because it's opposite to angle B, right? Now the distance from the vertex C to the silent AB right here, I call this Y, and it's actually altitude, right? And distance from here to here actually S, right? And S and Y actually the coordinate of point C, right? So we need to calculate the silent H right here, right? We're going to use this formula, right? We have this guy and this guy right here, right? Now remember the distance formula equals square root of S2 minus S1 square plus Y2 minus Y1 square, right? So we have BC equals square root of Y minus 0 square, right? Plus S minus C square, right? Now we're going to square both sides, so we have BC square equals Y minus 0 altogether square plus S minus C altogether square, right? Now we're going to apply the trig ratio in the right triangle right here. Alright, so we have cosine of angle A right here equals adjacent, which is S over hypotenuse, which is B, right? Then S equals B cosine A, right? Now similarly, we're going to find sine A. It's going to be opposite over hypotenuse, which is Y over B. Then Y equals B sine A, right? So I'm going to substitute this guy for Y, this guy for S, back to the formula right here, right? And BC squared actually A squared, right? So we have A squared equals, now we're going to use the complete square formula for this guy right here, right? So it's going to be A squared equals B squared sine square of A, right? Plus B squared cosine square of A, right? Minus 2BC cosine A, right? And then plus C square, right? Now we're going to root this guy and this guy. We factor B square out. So we have A square equals B square times sine square A plus cosine square A minus 2BC cosine A, right? Plus C square, right? Now, sine square A plus cosine square A equals 1, right? So, A square equals B square. I bring this one to the front. Plus C square minus 2BC cosine A. So, the first formula has been proved. Now, example number 1, we need to solve the triangle given 3 sides, right? So basically, we need to find 3 angles right here, right? So we're going to apply the law of cosine, right? So we're going to start with cosine of B. It's going to be A square plus C square minus B square over 2AC, right? By the formula above. Now we just plug in values, right? Now A square is going to be 8 square, right? Plus C square, which is 14 square, minus B square, which is 19 square, over 2. times A, which is 8, times C, which is 14, right? Now, if you use the calculator, the answer should be approximately negative 0.45, right? Now, sin cosine B is negative, right? Then you can conclude that angle B is an obtuse angle. Now to find the measure of angle B, we're going to take the inverse cosine both sides. So we have angle B equals inverse cosine of negative 0.45, right? So we're going to print up the calculator. Now make sure you need to change the calculator mode into the degrees, right? So I'm going to hit mode right here, change this one to degrees. Press enter, right? And then hit second mode. Now we're going to press second cosine negative 0.45. Press enter. It's going to be 1.6.743, right? You're going to apply law of sine into this triangle. If you want to review law of sine, please check out the link in the description below, right? So I have A over sine A equals B over sine B, right? Then A equals H right here over sine A equals B, which is 19 right here, over sine B, which is sine of 116.743 degrees, right? Then sine A equals 8 times sine of 116.743 divided by 19, right? Now we're gonna print up the calculator. It's gonna be 0.376, right? Then you need to solve for angle A. You're gonna take inverse sine both sides. So angle A equals inverse sine of 0.376, right? So you're gonna hit second sine of the answer right here. Then press enter. It's gonna be 22.087, right? Now to solve for angle C, we're gonna use the triangle sum theorem, right? So angle C approximately 180 subtract angle B, which is right here. Plus angle A, which is right here. 41.17. Alright, so we have the measure of angle B. We have the measure of angle A. We have the measure of angle C. We have three side lengths A, B, and C. We're done, right? Now, example number 2. We're going to solve the triangle at right. So we need to solve for A. We need to solve for angle B. You need to solve for angle C, right? So, when you even B and C right here and angle A right here, you can use the law of cosine, right? So we have A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine of angle A. So it could be 9 squared, right? Plus 12 squared minus 2 times 9 times 12 times cosine of 25 degrees. The answer is 29.24, right? Now you're going to take square root both sides, so A equals square root of 29.24, right? It's going to be approximately 5.4, right? Now to solve for angle B, we're going to use law of sine, right? So we have A over sine A equals B over sine B, right? 5.4 right here, right? Divided by sine A, but angle A equals 25, so we have sine 25 equals B, which is 9 right here, over sine B, right? So then sine angle B equals 9 sine 25 divided by 5.4, right? Now you're gonna bring up the calculator. Now the answer is approximately 0.704, right? So you need to solve for angle B. You're gonna take sine inverse both sides, so it could be 44.78, right? Now, to find angle C, you're going to use the triangle sum theorem, right? So C equals 180 subtract angle B, which is 44.78 plus angle A, which is 25, right? The answer is approximately 1110.22, right? We need to check to see if we done right. So we have a silent A is going to be right here, right? Silent B is right here, silent C right here, right? Angle A is 25, right? Angle C is right here, and angle B is right here. We done, right? And it's your time to stop. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember that if you failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail.
We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals they take us higher. The night's young and it's just begun as she puts her hand